all you guys the same question. Like, how much do you guys understand about Minecraft? Like, it's been around for ages. I just took an interest into it over the last year and a half. My niece and nephew have been my teachers. They've been showing me stuff, and I've been constantly blowing my mind. Their definition of a server is a place where they can hang out. And that was the first time my mind was blown. And since then, you know, I always spend at least a couple of hours with them just to understand how social interactions work for these guys. Because as they grow older, these kind of, you know, interaction becomes more and more important. The kind of art that they create inside, you know, the kind of other things, the behavior as well. So any views on that from you guys? Harshad, I'll go with you first.
Yeah, I mean, I completely sort of relate with your excitement of Minecraft. I think it's a very exciting space. Like you said, right, for being a game and sort of for social interaction. And what I find fascinating is how sort of, yeah, like even my younger cousins feel so natural to be in that space. Like it just, they just know exactly what needs to be done, and then they know how to build a space, etc. What I find also fascinating is for spaces like these to have a nice sort of educational component to it, where this whole idea of how to build spaces and think from sort of an ecological manner in terms of constructionism. I think that really plays out nicely in these spaces. And I think at the same time, sort of being mindful of the sort of, yeah, addictive nature of such spaces also in some sense, and sort of the little bit of cut off from reality, so to say, that happens. And I mean, like Arpit also mentioned, right, like almost 60-70% of our time is spent in digital spaces, and for sort of a younger population, that's even more. And I do think that I actually recently created a work called The Garden of Digital Delights, which was a spin on a very famous painting called The Garden of Earthly Delights, done many hundreds of years ago. And today, sort of the idea of delight has become so digitally native in some sense, where the most popular YouTube video is of cartoons, right? The most watched YouTube video ever is of kids' cartoons. And
children are ruling the way these algorithms are functioning. Yes,
exactly. And to sort of like hook people up into this sort of digital dopamine kind of a scenario very early on in their lives, I think can have counter effects also. So what I'm trying to get to is these are great platforms. The way sort of people end up interacting with them, and the way we can consciously create strategies for engagement that are more developmental rather than sort of done from this viewpoint of keeping them in that space for a longer and longer time. I think that is what is more important for me. So as a space for constructionism, like there are platforms like the Scratch programming language, etc., that also have a similar kind of feel as Minecraft, which allows you to build your own spaces, but then they have inbuilt into them sort of theories of how to program, how to think about sort of logical progressions in terms of construction of a space, etc. So I think, yeah, like the way in which we shape these environments, I think, is very important, and not only view it as a space for just hanging out for a longer and
optimizing UI UX, you know, for the user is very important as opposed to advertisers. That should be primary concern. Arpit, same thing, man. Minecraft, like, have you used it? Do you have kids? Have you, like, is your little one crazy into Minecraft?
Okay, so you know, to be very fair, I don't have kids and I haven't used it, but you know, I'll kind of touch upon it in a very general sense, right? So, and this kind of ties back to the way that I answered an earlier question also, that this whole generation is totally new, right? So if you talk about the social interactions, right? So there is a very famous dialogue from that Dark Knight Rises, right? So where Bane tells Batman that, I was born in this darkness, right? So these people are born into this, right? So the social interaction,
they're multiverse natives, metaverse natives.
The social interactions that you will see from this generation, that will be very different. For them, it will make sense to buy an artifact jacket, right? It will make sense to buy a skin by paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right?
I mean, I'm a gamer. I love games. I'm sorry to butt in. I'm a gamer. I love gaming. And while playing these FPS games, the skins on the guns, which literally don't mean anything, they are selling for like 400-500 euros. And I'm stunned. I'm like, that's how much a guitar costs at times. Like a good one.
Rohan, that's the difference. You said that does not mean anything, but for this generation, that's a very strong way of social signaling.
Yeah, it is definitely.
That's a way of social signaling. It gives a sense of what is the reputation of this gamer. Is he a really, really cool gamer? Is like deep into gaming? How much money do they have? It's all social signaling again in a totally different format, right? So today we wear brands and all of that. So a lot of that has to do with social signaling. What stature we are, how much money do we have, what is the status in the society, and all of that, right? That's a substantial part of the communication that we have across any platform, right? So similar things are kind of being translated, and it feels very natural to this Web3 native generation, right? And it is going to be like that, right? So we may try to make sense of it. There will be a lot of nuances to it, but I think it's very natural. It's not something which is kind of artificial or something. It's very natural. They are experiencing this world in a very different way, right? So for them, all the quests in Minecraft may make a lot of sense. Then, as why would you even engage with that game, right? But
not just Quest. People have been making like these libraries on Minecraft. They've been creating some crazy sets, recreating like Battlestar Galactica on Minecraft. So that actually takes a lot of time, ingenuity, and attention to detail.
Yeah.
So that is pretty crazy. And I think Sandbox and some of these other platforms, they have teleporters where you can actually use the same designs and bring them onto different platforms. So that interoperability is something that these guys are, I think, working on as well. Myna, again, the same question. What do you think about Minecraft?
I have lots of nieces and nephews who are constantly, showing me Minecraft. And, my first concern was always, of course, I went to a very tech-heavy school where everyone played. There were gamers throughout the night. I went to Carnegie Mellon and they were playing Tetris for like all hours of the day and night for years and years, and were addicted to it. So my first concern was a little bit about the addictive nature of Minecraft. Having said that, I'm also like Harshit, fascinated to see how that same environment could be pulled and used developmentally. I mean, Arpit said, why would kids, why would an adult engage with it? But I kind of feel like if that same environment was to be somehow parallelly or juxtaposed onto, say, a virtual art gallery or like a curator walk through a space, I mean, people in the art world love to hang out, and also to create things, and it's a social space where people stay for hours and hours. And I'm wondering how some of this addictiveness could be channeled into the virtual art space, also to bridge this gap that seems to exist between the physical world of art and the new exciting world of NFT art that has just come up. So I'm always curious, and I was talking to Meta actually about that. There was a Meta conversation that was happening, and they were saying, and one of the things that we were talking about was to create maybe a space where people can just go hang out in an art exhibition opening. I mean, it's very addictive. No one wants to leave. We had to literally push people out from art. And there were people from the MoMA Web3 folks were there. Of course, Polygon Studios, who was one of our wonderful sponsors for the event. The head, Brian Trunzo, was there. And there was someone, the marketing person from Meta was there. And we were talking about just this, about creating like a virtual space for art where people could just come hang out, people who loved art, and discuss art in a virtual space, or see exhibitions or travel to different exhibitions virtually.
Yeah, I mean,
This
social
makes sense?
signaling is something that you would be really interested in because from a curator standpoint, that's really
Yes.
interesting to explore what these guys get out of having these NFTs.